Hedonism is a way of life. It's good. The pursuit of pleasure can be traced back to the Sumerian civilization. I know some people might think that the word relates to doing drugs, having excessive sex, or just abusing yourself with alcohol until your liver gives out. But that is a misconception. Most of those activities are known as libertinism, an extreme form of hedonism. People that have no sense of responsibility, sexual restraints, or any measure of moral principles. People that only value sensual pleasures and to have a life full of pleasures. But later, the term is more associated with the debauchery. Other forms of hedonism are actually not that extreme. Most of you are even hedonist anyway without realizing it, except if you have hedonophobia, people who are afraid of feeling pleasure. They usually feel guilty to experience pleasure when they know other people are suffering in other places. They usually come from a religious background. And the opposite of hedonism is asceticism, abstinence from pleasure usually practiced by monks, and I don't think this is more popular than hedonism. I was introduced to the concept of hedonism when I was in a religious study course, saying it's bad and basically from Satan or something. Some of it is true, but that is not the whole picture. They often left out other forms of hedonism like the Epicurean view of hedonism, where they see tranquility and freedom as the highest pleasure. This can only be obtained by knowledge, friendship, and living a temperate and virtuous life. However, they usually abstain from bodily pleasures like eating and having sex. Socrates even spoke of the higher values of the intellect, but the Cyrenaic Hedonists denied it. They said bodily pleasures are more intense and simple, and it is more preferable. This kind of pleasure is quantitative, and many argue that it is short-lived and is not a good measure of a life well lived. Also, this kind of way of living is not sustainable. People that are striving for bodily pleasures without control would end up getting addicted. There is no pleasure in addiction. People that are addicted to something don't do them for pleasure. Instead, they do it because they want relief, and the result of engaging in those activities won't bring pleasure anyway. The Cyrenaics acknowledge this. A wise person should be in control of their pleasures and not be enslaved by them. They believe in friendship and justice because of the pleasure they bring. Hence, Cyrenaics believe in social obligation and altruistic behavior. Qualitative hedonists like John Mill views those sort of hedonism as a philosophy of swine. Mill considers sensory pleasures as lower pleasure and is less valuable than higher pleasures of the mind, like engaging in intellectually stimulating activities. He said people are more likely to choose to be a dissatisfied human than being a satisfied pig. Pleasure is not happiness. Constant seeking of pleasure won't bring happiness in the long run or even the short run. People won't be able to maintain the resources for their pleasure, and they eventually would be accompanied by misery. The evolutionary theory seeks reproduction, not happiness, so our ability to feel pleasure is limited. But most people strive to be happy, right? We want to be happy, and one way to increase the overall enjoyment of life is by savoring them. So you just have to find joy in the little things in life: watching the sunset, spending time with friends, cuddling with your pets, eating your favorite food, anything that makes you happy. But you have to be very rational about it. These kinds of pleasure can boost our well-being and health, so go ahead. Savor your everyday pleasures. Smell the coffee. Focus on the taste, the bitter deliciousness of it, the warmth, and all the good things that you can get. Using your senses and focusing your attention on the details of the pleasure can give you a whole different experience. One study found that savoring the anticipation of eating chocolate before eating chocolate made the participants eat less chocolate. Pleasurable emotions are linked with creative thinking, better physical health, longevity, and well-being. What's more, savoring can be taught. A program promoting savoring for the elderly reduces their depression score, physical symptoms, and sleep problems. So yeah, pleasure is important for you to be happy. When students write essays about the philosophy of life, happy students tend to write more about hedonistic themes. And one might say that the inability to feel pain can make you happier. A Scottish woman with a genetic mutation was reported to be immune to anxiety, unable to experience fear and pain. She had frequent cuts and burns due to her hypoalgesia, but the wounds healed quicker than average, and apparently it boosts her forgetfulness too. Anyway, you don't want to be too happy either. June Gruber argued that happiness may have negative effects. It can make people be more gullible, less successful, and more sensitive. So yeah, balance is really important. I guess that's why it is so important to Thanos. However, because of the way we view pleasure as good and pain as bad, some ethicists and philosophers in the school of hedonism and utilitarianism, negative utilitarianism to be precise, have argued that we should abolish suffering. The abolitionist society said we should use biotechnology to abolish suffering in human and non-human animals. Adam Shriver suggested using genetically engineered animals that can suffer and feel pain in factory farming. Not only that, David Pierce said that we should genetically engineer humans so that we could feel more pleasure than we can feel right now. Twin studies show that we have a set point for our well-being. We have a limit for the happiness that we can feel. And he argued that even when we achieve an ideal society, utopias, futuristic high-tech, eternal youth, unlimited wealth, and even super intelligence, we won't overcome this biological limit of happiness. Unengineered humans would suffer Darwinian emotions like sadness, anxiety, and jealousy. So it is a matter of urgency to engineer humans, and some even predicted that the last day of suffering will be a precisely dateable event. Negative utilitarian even goes so far as to say that a person that is able to painlessly kill all life should do it to prevent suffering. But this is quite controversial. Some people say that life could evolve again in a worse way, and the possibility of preventing life from evolving is beyond human power. So yeah, those things are hard to do. So let's focus on the things we can do, by looking at pleasure in a different way. Pleasure isn't bad. We have to stop looking at it as something shameful or useless or superficial. We can adopt the rational way of hedonism and just savor the simple pleasures that life can give. And hey, maybe it can help you live longer. Thank you for watching. It means a lot. And again, thank you. Bye.